Hello, Nadira. Well, this whole thing is a non-issue, really. Look at all the countries that trade with the European Union that are not in the European Union. Their biggest trading partners are places like Russia, South Korea, Japan, the USA. There's a long list of people who trade with the European Union, don't need to be members of the European Union, and don't seem to have a problem with the customs.
Well, there are
with the problem that...
Gerard, there are those that say, actually, those deals haven't come to fruition yet. So all the promises of all these amazing deals separately that we're going to have with different countries haven't come to fruition.
Nadira, those countries don't necessarily have trade deals with the EU. What they do is they trade under WTO terms, and under the WTO there are things like the Trade Facilitation Agreement, which simplifies customs procedures. Something like 3% of the containers going in and out of the European Union from outside are actually subject to any physical checks. Most of these checks are done via paperwork. The tallies are checked as they go in. It's all done electronically, or people check what's in the cargoes purely and simply by means of a list of what's provided. So this whole thing is a non-issue that's been conflated and blown up by the people that don't really want to leave the European Union anyway, i.e., most of the British political establishment, in order to try and delay it long enough to stop it happening.
Well, the government is claiming other complications. They've conceded that we'll be paying EU pensions for the next 40 years, and that the complete break from Brussels that your party wants just isn't possible. How do you respond to that?
Well, sorry, did you talk about EU pensions there? I didn't quite catch what you
pensions.
said. Is this the
the government have said that we'll be paying EU pensions for the next 40 years, so that we can't have that clean break that your party wants.
Only because they choose to. First of all, let me go through the MEP pensions. First of all, are the responsibility of the Parliament. They are not the responsibility of the government. Regarding British civil servants who work for the EU, then again their pensions are, strictly speaking, the responsibility of the EU, not the British government. The government may decide to pay people redundancy money, but there's no reason why British bureaucrats and civil servants in the EU couldn't continue working there. Although strictly speaking a country is supposed to be a member of the EU before people can work for the bureaucracy, there are exceptions to that rule, and I'm sure that the British government and the EU could come to agreement where most of those people keep their jobs, because presumably they're doing a good job. English is a very important language across the EU. Most Eastern European countries speak English, so they could continue working there, and I'm sure most of them would want to.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit because we haven't got that much time. I've got to talk about the local elections now. Those who voted for you initially were obviously for Brexit, but your party, they had a terrible turnout this time, didn't they?
In this election, we knew that was coming because of various reasons over the last couple of years. What I said before the elections was that what I would anticipate is that in the seats where we stood, we would get between 5 and 7% of the vote. The final calculations show that we got about 6% of the vote, which means that UKIP is still on the battlefield. It's still a force to be reckoned with, because in elections 6% can have an effect on who wins and who loses. So we're still. My job is to try and bring us up from the floor, which is what I inherited when I took over as the leader, a party that was really flat out on the floor.
Just
I've
very
done a great
quickly,
deal to
Gerard,
restore it so far.
Very quickly, Gerard, are you not on the floor because you lost over 120 seats this time round?
We knew that it was going to be bad, so that didn't surprise us. But we were on the floor because, first of all, because the public perceived and they thought that UKIP's job was done. That wasn't true. And of course we made lots of mistakes under previous leaders over the last year or two, and we're in a very difficult situation, and my job is to try and lift that up. And I think to be able to get 6% of the vote in this current very bad situation is not bad.
We will make America great again.